Good morning. Alan here with our Friday drop-in meditation class. Thanks for dropping in. I hope you're well and I hope you're warm. So we will do our normal mindfulness practice for 20-25 minutes. And I'm actually using a Alan Wallace class to base this particular meditation on. Remember, Alan Wallace came to Sydney last year and gave 10 days class teachings at Balmain Town Hall. So this is, the classes are available at the VR website if you want to listen to them. So I've just used some of Alan's guidance from one particular class to use in this class. Just before that, you might have noticed at the VR website that VR is going to open on the 4th of August for live classes. So hopefully from then on, I think it might be a Tuesday actually, the 4th of August. So Tony's chosen that day to resume classes, so with social distancing, of course. And I think there's thoughts, or I think they're going to continue the webcast as well. So I think likely to be filming or broadcasting the sessions at VI, so people can watch at home if they wish. Which I think is a great idea for those who can't physically come to the centre. So just back to this mindfulness practice. A few interesting things Alan said to introduce this class. The class is actually introducing the idea of awareness, which he says is from the Rigpa tradition, the Nyingma tradition, where just in a nutshell, we actually focus on consciousness itself. We're focusing on the mind, awareness of being aware. It's like becoming the mirror, becoming the lens in the camera, rather than looking out at an object such as the breath. So it's quite subtle. Just leading up to that, he gives a little story about Galileo, who was one of the founders of modern science. And he says that Galileo actually was a very Christian religious person, and wanted actually to be a contemplative, to just perhaps be a monk and just communicate with God in prayer. But unfortunately, he had to earn a living, like all of us. And so he got a job at the university and decided to look at God from the view of science. So he used mathematics and science to discover God, so look for God out there in the universe, the planets and the stars and so on. So this, he said, way of trying to find spirituality and meaning in the external world is what science has been actually stuck in ever since, looking outside at atoms, molecules, and so on. So this is sort of the tradition that we're going to find the meaning of life, the meaning of our own lives, the meaning of the universe outside. So we know that Buddhist science says this is a mistake. We need to look inwards. So just he does admit that in the last 30 years, science is now beginning to look more at the mind itself, particularly with mind mapping, looking at the effects of meditation on the brain, and perhaps even admitting that there's actually something called the mind that affects the brain, that actually can change the brain in meditation. So Western science is catching up, basically, is what he's saying with Buddhist science. So just on the particular practice, we start with breath, as always, using our mindfulness to focus on the object of breathing. And this breath meditation we can stay with for the whole practice if you just like to stay with breath, or we can try the Dzogchen practice of using the object of awareness itself. So we just either partially or fully let go of the breath and look at that experience and experience awareness of being aware. Very subtle. He helps by giving a couple of analogies, and one of them is the lighthouse on a very strong, firm headland and the waves crashing around it. So this lighthouse is our firm, stable, concentrated awareness, and the waves can be the breath that we see coming up to us, up to our awareness. Could be big waves or small waves, whatever the breath is doing. So we're actually on a stable lighthouse shore. That's our main focus, being the lighthouse, being that stability. And then we can just see the movement of the breath coming up to our awareness, not as if we're going out to look at the breath, allowing the breath to come to us. That's very useful. Nice analogy of the lighthouse. So another one Lama Yeshe used to use is the fish that's in a beautiful, vast ocean. A little fish of awareness is aware of everything in that clear ocean around it. The ocean being our consciousness, the fish being our awareness. So where the fish of awareness is within the consciousness, watching for movement. Could be other fish, which could be other thoughts coming and going in that clear awareness. But basically, our stability is the fish of awareness. So we'll come to that as an option later. But always remember, if you're trying awareness of awareness and there's a little bit of uncomfortableness, it's too hard, to come back to the breath, home to the breath, and maybe watch the stillness from the breath. Okay, I think that's enough introduction. Good. All right. So get comfortable, and we'll go into our mindfulness practice. So just make sure we're very comfortable. Could be sitting on the floor, could be sitting on a chair, could be lying comfortably on the floor, but we can just melt down the body. Or just consciously now bring our attention to our inner world. Feel that we're letting go of that outside world, the busyness of the outside, busyness of the day out there, and looking now what's happening here inside. Also thinking how fortunate we are to be able to do this practice. Many others don't have this opportunity. So as much as possible, we'll just focus on the practice and take care of our mind. Be kind to our mind. We need to take care of our mind. Part of taking care of our mind is to widen our intention from just calming ourselves, working for our own peace and quiet, to the virtuous thought of, if we have a peaceful mind, that's going to help others around us. We have to think of our effects of our actions on others. So we're calming our mind to be of a good effect on others. And the ultimate bodhicitta motivation, the highest motivation, we're taking care of our minds to ultimately have Buddhahood, enlightenment, where we can be of maximum benefit to others. So now we start with our body. Feeling, are we evenly balanced? On the floor of the chair. Bringing full awareness into the body and looking for any tightness physically in our upper body, shoulders, neck and head. Those fine muscles around the face, the nose, the eyes. And we soften them. We find any tightness, we breathe it out with each out breath. Lower down, we feel a connection of the body with the surface. That's our connection with the earth. Surrendering ourselves to the earth and to gravity. Nothing to hold on to. Trusting the earth. Surrendering ourselves. Trusting. Letting go. With each out breath, feel where we are letting go physically, and all the busyness of the mind we're letting go. All the obstacles, all the distractions. They go beyond space with each out breath. And then just giving more attention to the full flow of the in-breath, full flow of the out-breath. The movement of the body with each breath. You can choose the closest point to focus on the breath, the nostrils, where we feel that cool air entering the body, the warm air leaving the body. it's more comfortable, we can lower the attention to the abdomen, rising and falling with each breath. Well, the widest focus is the whole body, gently moving with each breath. Find a comfortable spot and just rest there. Feeling that sense of coming home to the breath, putting a heavy load down, coming to rest there. Part of our mind is also just kept in reserve to monitor the situation, to be alert for our wandering mind. When the mind leaves the breath, leaves the object, we need to notice that as soon as possible. Then not worry about it, it's just a thought. Let it go. Patiently come back to the breath. Finding the breath, staying with the breath, resting on the breath. So we can either stay with the breath now, continue our practice using the breath as the object, or we can try our awareness of awareness practice, gently letting go of the breath, opening the eyes and just gently gazing ahead. And becoming awareness itself. Becoming the awareness, experience of awareness. Like becoming the mirror itself. That awareness is strong and firm and still, like the lighthouse. We become the lighthouse of awareness. We may notice the breath of the waves of the breath, the waves of thought. But we stay that firm lighthouse awareness. That stillness, that stability. We may notice the rhythm of the breath around us. But the lighthouse stays firm. The lighthouse of awareness stays firm. The breath will rise up to meet our awareness. But we stay firm, still, stable, strong. Being aware of being aware, the experience. Remember, there's always the breath to go back to if there's any unsteadiness. Otherwise, staying in that stillness of awareness, awareness of awareness. So just relax, have a stretch, maybe a drink. So the second practice, our analytical meditation is one about appreciating our human life, sometimes called meditation on the perfect human rebirth. So we haven't done this for a while, but just before that, I'm reading Lama Yeshe's biography called Big Love, which is fantastic. I think I mentioned this last week. So one of the good things about the book is that it's got his whole life from the time he started teaching Westerner to the time he passed away. And remember, Lama Yeshe, for new people, is one of our spiritual founders who started the organisation called FMT, with Lama's Open Rinpoche, who's now our spiritual head. He, Tibetan monk, book is that apart from the interesting stories, people he's meets and how he affects these people, mainly Westerners, they have excerpts of his teachings when he goes to teach in different parts of the world. But this one, somewhere in America, I think it is, but just a little extract. He's talking about probably he's addressing a fairly hippie sort of audience who he probably suspected was very reluctant to come to the idea of discipline, which of course we need some discipline in our Buddhist practice. So he's talking about the importance of discipline, some discipline. He says people complain that it's difficult to keep a constant watch over the actions of their body, speech and mind. But this is difficult only because they're not aware of cause and effect. Your present behaviour exerts a direct influence on what you'll experience in the future. But likewise, whatever happens to you now is the result of what you've done in the past. So if you can realise this, you'll come to appreciate that your present predicament is fundamentally your own responsibility, no one else's. So you'll see that it's basically your own decision, whether you're happy or miserable. Or if you have discipline, to be kind, loving and open, you'll be happy as a result. But if you're mindlessly cruel, selfish and closed, you'll experience only suffering. So discipline then is a difficult chore only as long as there is ignorance of cause and effect, and therefore no motivation to be mindful. If you understand the intimate relationship between actions and their consequences for yourself and others, you'll automatically be careful and conscientious. This is what it means to have self-awareness. So that self-awareness we use in our formal meditation, mindfulness practice, where we're watching the mind, carries over into our everyday actions of what we do, speak, and what we say, act, how we act, what we think, and what we say. So that's sort of really what this practice, where we think about how amazing it is that we have this human life, is part of cultivating a positive effect, positive cause to have a positive effect. So we're reminding ourselves of our potential, and it helps counter any tendency we might have to have self-doubt, poor self-image, perhaps self-pity, narrow view of ourselves. This is what Lama Yeshe is always teaching us to move out of, narrow view of ourselves. So this practice also helps us to motivate our time, use our time wisely. So we spend some time appreciating how rare and important it is to have a human body. So our physical situation, human body, not just human body, but we're in an incredibly good place, a calm place. We've got, it could be the other realms, the animal realm and so on. And then we move on to our opportunities eased. So then we look at our possibility cultivating the mind, our Dharma practice. And so basically it's just things that intellectually we can say, of course, oh yes, we're really lucky to be human. But we're actually just dwelling on each point, allowing it to infuse our mind. And so the basic conclusion is that we have all the ingredients, all the elements we need to move forward mentally, spiritually. We've got the complete teachings of how to become enlightened, extraordinary, in a language you understand. And then just bearing in mind how impermanent our situation is, could change at any moment. The virus, the corona, is a good example of how things can change almost instantly. And the ultimate change, of course, is when we have to leave the body at the time of death. So, given all this, we affirm that we'll, as much as possible, spend our time wisely, doing what we can to, as much as we can in the time we've got, to proceed along the path to liberation and enlightenment. So that's basically the practice. We've done it before many times, the older students have. But it's still good to, like all of Tibetan Buddhism, repetition is the key to change the mind, which is a slow process. All right, so we'll start now. What time starts now? They say in the quiz shows. Okay, so let's go. First thing, we'll start with a few moments of the breath and then move to the practice. So get comfortable. Coming back to our stability of mind in our mindfulness practice. Using that quiet mind to now enter into our analytical meditation. A few moments with the breath. The human body. We somehow have acquired this human body, the human brain. Human body that has its faculties, our senses intact. The incredible gift of a human brain that can be used to reason and thinking there could have been other possibilities, other realms that we could be in. The animal realm is the most obvious one. Animal realm, where the characteristic is unintelligence, stupidity. The animals, compared to us, have very little ability to comprehend. No speech, no understanding of even enlightened teachers, even the Buddha himself. They wouldn't understand the teachings. And then the wild animal realms, there's this constant fear of being eaten by other animals, constant suffering of cold and heat. When we're looking at animals in the sea, probably the greatest number of animal beings are in the sea. The suffering there. Also remembering that there are other realms we can't see, the predator realm where the hungry spirit, hungry ghost, no chance to practice any kind of mental development, any peace of mind. We're not there though, we're in the human body, the incredible, precious human body. Let's pause now. This opportunity is so rare. The number of beings in the human realm is so small compared to the other realms, lower realms. We're so lucky, almost unimaginable, the chance of being born human. Due to our previous good karma, we've arrived here in the human body. Only the human body can be used to progress along the path to liberation as the vehicle. The precious human body. How amazing, how lucky we are. Staying with that thought. Then the next step, not only are we lucky to have a human body, but we have a human body located in a very quiet, auspicious place, a safe country, no major wars, insurrections, revolutions, no great famines, droughts, upheavals. Thinking so easily of the other examples in the world of this great suffering. So this we have freedom of religion, freedom of thought, freedom to practice any tradition that we want. We can pursue any interest we wish. Not just freedoms, but we have the Dharma, the precious Buddhist teachings, arrived in this country. Every Buddhist text available to us and to our teaching. Most of them now in a language we understand. This, even 100 years ago, was not possible. With the fall of Tibet, the Western, as well as the Dalai Lama, all our gurus and Sangha, basically teaching the West and the rest of the world These teachers have an unbroken lineage back to the time of the Buddha, the lineage of the teachers. Extraordinary opportunity to study the Dharma, to practice the Dharma. Not only that, we have centres where we can attend, listen to teachings by qualified teachers, do practices with like-minded other students, the support of like-minded friends, our spiritual friends. Thinking that even now with the restrictions on movement, lockdown, we can still practice the Dharma. We can still listen to teaching online, listen to His Holiness the Dalai Lama teach, listen to Lama Zopa Rinpoche teach. An auspicious place, access to teaching, all the teachings to enlightenment. How fortunate. This opportunity may never come again. How amazing. The other resource we have is time. Unlike so many human beings who may have access to teachings, they may have no time. Time to purify, time to calm the mind, take care of the mind. Final point, not only do we have the body in an auspicious place, access to teaching and time, but we have interest. We have interest in we have the wish to develop our positive qualities, to increase our virtue. We're attracted to the teachers. As an example to follow. So many other beings with the time don't have the interest. So many other beings with the time don't have the interest. That's our friends, our relatives. We have that interest. We have the seeds to practice Buddha nature, seeds of compassion, seeds of wisdom. Coming in contact with the teachers and the teaching arouses those past seeds of virtue we've sown in past lives, our past contact with Dharma. So these seeds, these interests, are the ingredients to cultivate our mind, cultivate our progress. Staying with that thought that we have this interest, innate interest in the Dharma and the teachings. and the wish to cultivate that interest. Acknowledging that. Now, the conclusion. Having appreciated our precious body, our precious location, extraordinary, have met the Dharma and have interest in the Dharma. Acknowledging how precarious the situation is, how rare, acknowledging impermanence, things could change at any moment. The body is so fragile. Death is a certainty at some stage. Time of death is uncertain. Acknowledging that conditions could change at any moment. A resolve now to resume, to use our time wisely while we have this perfect human rebirth, amazing human opportunity. As Lama Yeshe said, we need to create the causes, appreciate cause and effect. Cultivating positive thoughts of body, speech and mind. Eliminating negative actions of body, speech and mind. It's the source of happiness, this and future life. Acknowledging cause and effect. Using that as an incentive to practice. The entire path to enlightenment, the preparation of enlightenment. Making that resolve. And now dedicating to that. May all the merit we've accumulated from this practice, all the past practice, future practices of ourselves and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, may we progress along the path, utilising this human body in a meaningful way. Just reading now Lama's Opus Dedication. Due to the merits of the three types collected by me, all the numberless Buddhas, all the numberless sentient beings, may all wars, sickness, including coronavirus, famine, torture, poverty, economic problems, and all dangers of earth, water, fire, and wind be pacified immediately. May perfect peace and happiness prevail in everyone's hearts and everyone's lives. May the Buddha Dharma last for a long time. May sentient beings in this world meet the Buddha Dharma, as we have, and achieve enlightenment as quickly as possible. Dedicating to that. Okay, thanks so much for being there. See you next week. Have a very peaceful and calm week. And take care and stay well.